Hi and welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. Today's Thriver TV episode is a really fascinating topic because with narcissists there is this crazy binding to them, which defies all logical explanation because it isn't logical. And if logic or our intelligence had anything to do with it, we'd all have been able to do what we know we should be doing, which is stop touching a stove that's burning us, stop taking the poison that is poisoning us. But we can't just pull away from the bond because entanglement with a narcissist is a spiritual disease. It's a takeover that's polluted our very soul. And anything that pollutes our soul also causes disruptive and traumatic changes to our entire being. Literally, in the case of trauma bonding to a narcissist, we become physiologically, cellularly, that's hard to say, addicted to them for reasons that are operating at much deeper, more powerful levels than just logic. And I'd really like to deeply explore with you in this episode the 5 ways we can trauma bond and how it happens. So let's have a look at trauma bonding number 1, which is Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is a phenomenon that has been widely documented. It occurs when a hostage falls in love with her kidnapper. And people may think it's because over a period of time the person starts sympathizing with their abductor, but it's not that. It's the chemical changes to the brain, the release of serotonin, dopamine and endorphins, which are as powerful as any love drug that she receives every time he doesn't shoot her, when he gives her food, when he tells her that she might live today. It's the massive relief after the heightened state of terror and trauma. It's the rush of gratitude that cellularly, chemically, is causing her to feel bonded to him. After all, in the times of kindness and providing survival needs for her that she has no power to provide herself with, he's become her savior. He's become literally her God. Do you recognize the correlation with narcissistic abuse? Devil one moment, who's destroying you piece by piece. Angel the next, the undying love and putting you back together. I'm sure you do recognize the similarity. Let's have a look at trauma bonding number 2, which is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance occurs when there's a tension created as a result of 2 opposing thoughts. So a simple real life example is the belief, I want to lose weight, followed by the decision, I'm going to eat this block of chocolate. When cognitive dissonance for anything happens, the opposing belief and action needs reconciling. This is known as justifications, or another word is excuses. Such as, I've worked really hard today, I deserve this chocolate, I just won't have any tomorrow. Everyone suffering narcissistic abuse is experiencing cognitive dissonance. We feel the terrible trauma of abuse, but we decide to stay and we try to make the relationship work despite the ongoing and escalating trauma. Of course, incredible justifications have to be clutched onto to give reasoning as why to remain in the abuse. And these are reasons that need to be thought over and over and over again in order to not tear one's soul apart with the shame and the wrongness of accepting abuse. And there are literally dozens of justifications I've heard over the years, as well as the ones that I clung on to myself. Such as, I know he loves me and he's doing his best. It's just that he had a terrible childhood. Or I know this relationship is meant to be. I'm going to stay and see it through. Or worse still, such things like that. She really is a lovely lady. It's me with all the problems. And I know I make her like this. Or if I love him enough, I know I can heal him. or I'm the only person that understands her, I can't leave her, it's my duty to stay and love her with everything I have. Or of course, these kinds of justifications. I'll lose too much if I leave. I'll never be able to start my life again at the age I am. I have no choice, I have to stay. Which I promise you is not true when you apply Thriver Recovery. So these are the stories that we tell ourselves over and over again, and they cement into the very fabric of our inner identity those beliefs in order to rationalize the relationship. And naturally, they bond us in deeper and deeper to the narcissist. So let's have a look at trauma bonding number 3, which is repetitive compulsion disorder. This is fascinating. Hear me out about this example. Okay, this is it. There are lab rats in a cage who have a button to press in order to receive pellets. And they know that they push the button to secure a meal. But what happens when the button is set on random? So let's say, for example, one day it may be 2 pushes to receive pellets, the next six pushes, then the next 3, or it can be changed at any time. This is what happens. The rat pushes and pushes the button until the floor of the cage is littered with pellets and can't stop doing it. And the rat will forego all self-care and even drinking water because he is so addicted to pushing the button. And this is exactly what happens to people with poker machines, because there is no set outcome, no safety or predictability. People can't stop pushing the button trying to get a desired outcome. And that, of course, is an anxiety. Yet when the payout comes, there's the flood of relief, all of those chemical cocktails again. Now let's think about narcissists, Jekyll and Hyde. Unpredictable, non-accountable, you don't know who's going to walk through the door, whether they're going to be adoring you or abhorring you. So you get hooked in with repetitive compulsion disorder, pushing and pushing the button. You can't leave them alone, trying to get decency, love, stability, and safety. And like the pokey addicts, we're pushing the button all the way to our demise if we don't let go and heal ourselves. Trauma bonding number 4, peptide addiction. This is the chemical connection between the brain and the body and how it works. We have a thought, and our brain sends an electrical signal to the hypothalamus, which is the chemical manufacturing plant in our brain. Then a neuron peptide, a chemical which is an amino acid, is created and secreted out to the cells in our body, which open up their receptors to accept the chemical into their inner composition. Different receptors in our cells grow to accept different peptides. So for example, the receptors of trauma are completely different to the receptors of joy. And our cells get geared to accept the peptide that our brain is manufacturing on a regular basis. The greater intensity with any thought we have, the greater amount of the peptide that's manufactured. And when it hits our body and is taken into our cells, we experience the emotion. We feel the body charge on it. And the greater the charge, the greater the peptide, and the greater the emotional hit to our body. Our receptors are constantly doubling when we receive large and continual doses of a thought feeling. Therefore, our cells get more and more hardwired to accept the peptide that it's getting the biggest rushes on that they're used to, and starts requiring larger and larger amounts of that particular peptide in order to be satisfied. So we get literally cellularly addicted. We need that peptide manufacturing of more trauma to feed our cells. And this is why, if you haven't been thinking traumatic thoughts for a little while, might be minutes or hours or a day, your brain-body connection is going to start forcing you to go back to that thought. It's like it's an addiction. It's like, oh God, I can't stop thinking about it. And you'll go back to it. So that what happens is you're going to start producing more of that peptide chemical again in your hypothalamus, and it's going to get distributed through your body, and then your cells are going to go, oh, thank God, I got my drug of choice. I got the relief of that hit of that drug. Now here is the part that knocked my socks off when I realized that I was suffering severe peptide addiction. The cells of my body were screaming out for their drugs, for more trauma, victimization, and powerlessness. And it was forcing me to go directly to the drug dealer, which is the narcissist. Peptide addiction is massively responsible for being bonded to a narcissist. And of course we mistake it for love until we heal from this deadly addiction loop. So trauma bonding number 5, infantile regression. In times of intense trauma, it's common to regress back to your most instinctual, learnt behaviour in order to try to survive. This is the clinging of a child to the parent you believe is powerful and able to provide some sort of relief to the trauma at hand. What happens when the closest person that you perceive as a source of support happens to be a cruel and abusive narcissist? The answer is nothing different, because you've already formed powerful attachment and addiction bonds that want to create this person as your savior. Infantile regression is powerful, unconscious, and a primitive survival program that operates at the very core of your being. Your maturity and self-reliability goes out the window and is replaced by utter childlike helplessness. In this state, you believe that you will literally die if you don't agree with the narcissist, take the blame, do anything to keep the peace, and grant everything the narcissist wants in the primitive hope that the onslaughts will stop and you'll be allowed by the narcissist to avoid complete emotional annihilation. Your rights are completely withdrawn by yourself and numbed out in your need for survival. The perverse twist to this is that you've now surrendered your soul to the narcissist and idolized this person as your God, who has the ultimate power to dictate your fate. Then when the narcissist allows you to exist again, your idolization becomes the pathological survival belief, this person is the creator of my world. What greater illusion of love could there ever be? And that's exactly on a subconscious level what a young child feels for a parent. Of course, we may not be conscious of this going on. In fact, we're not. But this is the programming that has taken over our subconscious urges, which have hijacked our life. Okay, so there it is, the 5 ways we can be trauma bonded. They're deep, powerful, and they cannot be addressed and healed with mere logic because they're not going on at that level. And they're serious. In fact, they're truly deadly. But the good news is, in the Thrive Way to Heal, we know how to and we can target and heal ourselves from all of these trauma bonds at their very core. And these are the exact methods that I realized I needed to find to get free and that I created, and which now thousands of people, apart from myself worldwide, have applied in order to heal for real. So it's important that if you recognize that this is what is really going on with you, it's so important that you also discover the ways to get free. And I'd love to help you with that. So if you haven't already, please sign up to my free New Life newsletter, because there, step by step, you're going to learn how to get free. So I hope that that's been fascinating for you. I hope that this episode has explained so much to you that you're not just going mad, that this is a literal physiological, chemical addiction that happens. And I hope that you now have some hope that you can break free from this. So come over to the blog. Let's have a conversation at blog.melanietonyevans.com. And until the next episode, keep smiling, keep healing, keep thriving, because there is nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.